If you've been online lately, you've probably heard that running a business is super easy and anyone can do it. Well, that's complete nonsense. We're here to share with you the real world of entrepreneurship. Welcome to I Can't Hustle Any Harder Than This.
I'm Rachael Wonderlin, and I'm here with
Emily Naples.
For this episode of I Can't Hustle Any Harder Than This. We are back for episode 2 with Anna, because the first episode was so nuts that we needed to do another episode. So people listening, people watching, if you haven't seen the first episode, please go back and listen/watch that, because you're going to be a little lost if you go out of order here. But the quick recap is that Anna, shortly after college, was essentially sucked into what can only be described as a business cult, which is commonly known on Reddit and other forums as Devil Corp, although, of course, that's not its real name. She was told she was going to be a marketing campaign manager, where she would be working with clients and eventually have the opportunity to own her own business. What it really was going into places like Costco, Sam's Club, and selling products to the people in those stores. So I think that's a pretty good recap.
Yeah. Dive right back in.
Let's dive right back in.
I feel like you can tell the story instead of me. You tell me what happened in
I'll
Philly.
tell you what happened. Yeah, we have a listener question, better known as my mom, who wants to know what happened in Philly once you got there and you essentially realized, they don't have apartments for all of us. They are housing us all in one apartment with one bedroom, 4 people on air mattresses.
Yeah, so it was myself, the owner, 2 other reps, and the 1 rep's husband.
And when you say the owner, you mean the person who was given this opportunity to start their own business within the business.
Yeah, and this is when the tapestry started to unravel, and I started to see the threads for what they were.
Oh, I love that
So,
line.
so they use the term owner, but really I saw that this person didn't have any ownership authority or command over the business. So it was really regional and the higher ups dictating what this person got to do. And we had an admin who was booking interviews, maybe like 20 interviews a day. It was a revolving door of people coming in and out, and we're trying to latch on to all of these humans and get them to join the cult that we're sucked into and sell these products so that way I too can become an owner and be making over $100,000 a year.
Is that what she was making? The owner?
I don't think so. Not from the statements I was seeing.
Oh, okay.
And was the benefit of like recruiting somebody, like, did you get a bonus just for that?
No. So the owner gets a cut of everyone's sales, and then regional gets a cut, and there is this multi-level marketing element of it.
Yeah.
And I know people call it a pyramid scheme, but I do want to say, like, I got paid. I did learn a skill set. It's not a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
But it is a toxic work environment where they are trying to control every aspect of your life. They want to cut you off from your friends and family. They want to isolate you. They want to guilt you into spending every moment of your free time with people in the business. So when you leave your Sam's Club trip, you're breaking down your day with your lead. So I'm calling the owner, who I report to, and am talking about all of my negativity, all the negative things that happen, like all the negativity, and she's rebuttaling me. Okay. And then I have to do that for the people on my team. So you're having these calls until, like 10 p.m., and then you have to wake up at 7 a.m. the next day, go into the office for your stand-up meeting, and then go to the field.
This is what happens in cult-like environments, which is that people sort of hold each other accountable to the structure, whatever they believe the structure to be. And if you've ever read anything, listened to anything about Nexium, which was pretty much decried as a sex cult. Started as like a learning model for like how to conduct oneself, especially in business. And Keith Raniere is in prison still, thank God, because that guy is a creep. But I read a book about this by the woman Sarah, and I'm gonna blank on her last name, but it was called Scarred, and it's about her leaving this cult. And once she was in, like, she really bought into everything. Her and her husband were in this group. They really bought into everything and kept other people in line with this as well.
And that's what I'm curious too. Like, so when you say like isolate, I get the idea that so it sounds like you had long hours, but what other ways did that happen? Like, could you take time off to go do something? Could you be like, hey guys, I have lunch with a friend? Or
there was this culture where you were heavily guilted for doing things outside of your team. So there would be team dinners, there would be team gatherings, and they would send you to other markets to train people, to mentor people. They really built you up on this pedestal. So my free time was spent networking with other people within this business and training them. So they really capitalize that and build you up while you're getting sucked in,
like on the daily. Okay.
Well, there's a reason for this, right? They don't want you to take time apart to go, oh, this is sort of weird. They don't want you having that space to consider that maybe this isn't such a great opportunity.
Correct. And I think if I had stayed in Pittsburgh, the song and dance might have been a little bit different, but I'm really glad I moved to Philly because, again, that's where everything started to shatter. When the promises of, oh, you're going to be an owner, you're going to make all this money, we're going to pay for all of these things for you. And it's like, I'm on Medicare. You guys don't have any benefits for me. You don't have a place for me to live. You're not paying for any of my expenses. None of this is real.
Okay, at what point though were you like, none of this is real? And before this call, you mentioned that one of the people who was like in this quad where you're all sleeping on air mattresses of the floor of this one room apartment, one of them had a spouse with them?
Yeah, and
so wait, is this 5 people in one room?
I wish it was yesterday so I could remember better, Rachael. I feel like part of my brain has legitimately just
put it away,
spliced it out. So I can't remember if there were 2 rooms and they got one of the rooms, or if they were just on their own air mattress in the same room.
Oh my God.
I do remember them moving out first. And as I mentioned on the last episode, I moved out with one of the guys I worked with, and we got that centipede riddled apartment in Philly. Right. And that, again, was further shattering this reality they built up. And if you're going to make these promises and not execute on them, well, then everything's a lie. If when you become an owner, you don't have to be in the field anymore, but our owner is in the field every day to hit numbers, to keep the business open, and is super negative, like her facade dropped because like they sold her on this idea and you could see her brain starting to figure it out.
No health insurance?
No.
Jeez. Were you contractors or were you employees? Were you W-2 employees or were you like 1099 contractors?
We had to have been contractors.
You had to have been contractors because with an employee you have to, well, you don't have to, but there's certain rules and regs. I bet you were contractors because there's less stipulation about like what they have to provide for a contractor.
Right. So were you hourly then?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I'm guessing
commission based.
Although maybe you were an employee because if she had to be there at specific hours and times.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be curious.
We'll have
see.
to pop onto Reddit and find out.
Yeah.
Were you hourly? You said yes, you were hourly. I'm sorry. And then, but the things you did outside of going into the place was that you weren't being paid.
Nope.
To like debrief conversation.
Oh my God. So if you weren't in like Costco, you weren't being paid?
Correct. Okay. So those morning meetings were not paid. All of the networking calls. all of the
Yeah, that's
team
rough.
meetings. And I mean, like, a team meeting shouldn't necessarily be like a paid event, but I
Yeah.
think all of the networking calls should be if I'm training other people and when I'm
For sure.
when I'm
Yeah.
traveling and they're booking you on Spirit and setting you in like a, you know, the cheapest
Where are you traveling to? Where are you going?
Wyndham.
Where are you going?
We went to New Jersey to work in their office. We went to Texas to work in their office. So we would get sent to other offices.
But if you go to the office, are you not getting paid?
You are.
You
When-
are, okay.
Well, when you're in the
There.
field.
Oh,
so you're also
You're
doing
going
this.
to Texas and you're going to a Costco in Texas.
correct.
But the travel you're not getting paid for
Correct. Like, I mean, they
The
they paid
time
for, yeah, but
to
I'm
do
not
it
getting paid for the time.
For the
Right.
time. Oh man, there's something I wanted to ask you. I lost it. Oh, I was curious about the typical ages of these folks. Like you were young. Was
Mm.
everyone young?
Yeah, they really target people right out of college.
Okay. Okay.
That
And
makes
then
sense.
And then I also wondered. You had mentioned the owner or whatever it was called, Unraveling.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about her journey from your perspective.
I remember asking her a question about everything that was going on. And her
Not
s-
what they want you to ask. They don't want you to ask good questions.
And I think she just snapped and said, "Why are you always questioning me?"
Oh, do you remember by chance what the question was or what it was about?
I don't. I just remember her doing that
Response.
snap and me being like, "I'm kind of afraid of you now. I thought we were
Wow.
friends and I'm not questioning you. I'm just trying to understand the why behind things. And if you're getting defensive, what do you have to be defensive about?" I didn't ask that,
Sure.
but I would now if I was there. Throw that back on her and be like,
yeah.
what's this really about?
When you got to Philly and you realized we're all on air mattresses in this one apartment, what was your work day like? Like what were you doing there? Because this owner was supposed to be setting up her business. So how's that different than what you were doing over here in Pittsburgh?
It was pretty similar. So
Okay.
it was, a room in a office complex, and they painted the walls and hung up some pictures, and her and the admin are there, and we do the morning meetings where we get up, we recite our cult pledges. So we
On the daily?
What?
yeah, you have to like practice your, what was it, your 10 steps to a good attitude, the 5 there's like the 5 steps to a sale. You talk about your C factors.
I
The
remember
C
factors.
factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, smile because it's contagious. Eye contact because it builds trust, and enthusiasm because it creates excitement, things like that. And then you always talk about your step 7. So in that list of 10, step 7 is the only one I really remember. And that was your why. Why are you here and why are you doing all of this? And that's how they get you. Because anytime you question them, they go back and they say, "Oh, well, didn't you want to retire your parent? Oh, didn't you want to have a house in Maui? Oh, didn't you want to do X, Y, and Z?" And they held your goal in front of you like a carrot on a stick.
And when you say like they did that, was it the owner that you were working with in Philly? Was it the folks when you got started?
It's
just like-
it's Devil Corp. I did it to other people on my team.
Oh, so it is infiltrated to everybody to do to other people.
Correct.
You know when you have like a memory pops into your head and you go, "Ah," and you like cringe, you're like, "Oh God, why am I the way that I am?" We all do that. What is a memory like that for you that you have from your time? This is a big
She's
question.
like the year 2016.
I think it's when I had someone on my team questioning me
Okay.
and me having to rebuttal her, and then asking myself, having that voice in the back of my head saying, "She's right. You asked those same questions and you didn't get good answers, and now you're rehashing those same bad answers."
Now, was this before or after your owner snapped at you for asking a question? Do you remember?
Ooh.
I do not remember, but that is a good question.
Journal about that tonight.
Talk with my therapist about that.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, people are keeping you in. You're keeping people in. Everybody's sort of just like, okay, we're in this together. At some point, you go, ooh, and next thing you know, you're sitting under the table
Crying.
at Costco or Sam's Club or whatever, and you're hiding under there for an hour and just chilling out down there, crying and being upset. You said you felt like it was the centipedes that led you to that moment, seeing the centipedes in that second apartment. What else was there?
I think it was the overwork and the underpay of things. You know, they make all these grandiose promises, but the paycheck's not adding up to what they're saying. And everything around you is glamorized in such a way that you want to believe it, and the facts are there. And I just had too many facts stacked on top of one another, and I was just done. I just knew I was done with all of it. And I'm the type of person that doesn't want to give up on something.
Yeah.
I really wanted to give this my all. I wanted to be a business owner. But again, moving to Philly and seeing that owner was a title that they gave people who bought into their franchise and sold their souls to Devil Corp. I was like, I actually don't want to be like an owner of your fancy franchise and do this to other people. It's morally wrong. I have a degree in ethics. Like, this is
Wow.
Yeah, this is just not for me. And I got to be honest, it wasn't until a couple of years ago I even knew what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Sure.
Right.
Like, I was trying all of these different jobs. I have an interdisciplinary degree in public policy, ethics, history, and architecture.
And Costco sales.
And Costco.
I love ya.
So it's like, do I want to be an architect? Do I want to be a manager of a Costco? What path do I take? And in this journey of self-discovery, I had this entrepreneurial bug inside of me. Like, I wanted to do the thing for myself, this glamorized thing that you do and it just happens. But you don't realize all of the elements that come with owning a business. So even after this, I was a traveling artist. Didn't make any money selling my art. I'm paying to go to these different locations, and it's cool because I'm a guest speaker. I got to do stuff in the New Jersey Fringe Festival. I went to a gallery in Florida. I spoke at universities. Where's the money in that, though? Yeah. How is that funding what I'm doing? It's cool that I get all these experiences, but if I'm couch surfing, then that's not the lifestyle I want for myself. So separating my art from what I do to get money was a really big distinguishing factor for me.
People struggle with that a lot. I've talked to plenty of, Emily and I met in the comedy scene. We've both done improv for too long. And actually that's how we know you too. Oh God. But there are people in comedy who are like, they sort of resist, especially early or, in their 20s, resist getting a job because they're like, I got to work on my art. I'm like, yes, that's great. But you need to make a living while you work on it. Like, you need a floor, you need somewhere to be, to start from. And one does not simply like start a business. One does not simply like make a bunch of money.
Well, I remember when we first met, I was doing a lot of interior design and home organizing for other people. And that's when I started Two Cats Design. Yeah. And I had a phone call with you about turning it into an actual business. And you were like, accounting, liability forms, from a legal perspective, if you're going into someone's house, like, do you have a waiver? I was like, no.
I'm glad I
Oh,
said all that. That was
shit.
smart of me to hear this back. I'm like, hey, I'm pretty smart.
I know business.
I know about business. Yeah, there's a
Wow.
lot of shit that you need that people don't realize that we have at some point, I don't know if it's before this episode or after this episode, but we did an interview with this woman, Candace, who's an attorney, a divorce attorney, and she split off from the firm she was originally with to start a new firm. And she said there was so much stuff that suddenly she and a couple people who were starting this were in charge of, paperwork wise, accounting wise, like all these things that previously someone had managed for them.
Yeah.
And I think people who are starting a business don't realize it's not like you wake up one morning and go, I'm going to start a business. Here's my website. Now I've got clients and I'm rich. Like, there's so much crap that I deal with on a daily basis that honestly you'd have no idea unless you were fully in it with me. Like, the amount of random decisions that have to be made and things that come up that you have to deal with. But I'm sure Devil Corp did not tell anyone that.
Yeah.
So this owner, is she responsible for paperwork and things like that? Or is that done by Devil Corp?
I think it's a mix, is my understanding.
Wow, okay.
So I think she like franchised from them, but regional was always doing calls and kind of checking in and a part of what was happening.
Sounds like a lot for that person to manage. Sounds like a lot of expectation. Were there like sales goals and things like that?
There were no communicated goals, but you made things like games and you tried to like ring the bell and get so many in a day and things like that. And
Wow.
Ring the bell.
yeah, that was one of the terms. Or like you tried to create like, what was it, in the morning you got juiced up, join us in creating excitement.
Why
You
is
don't even get a glass of juice.
Yeah.
You just got a
Why
word
the hell is
juice.
everything acronyms?
So you remember it. It's
That's-
10
yeah,
years
10 years
later.
later.
Weird.
Gee whiz.
Did
A
anybody?
lot
That's
of
the
people do
thing.
that.
That's one of the things when people look to define if something's a cult is like the rhetoric to go like, does this group have rhetoric that only the group is privy to? You know, if you were to go speak this language to someone outside, would they know what the hell you were talking about? And the answer is no. Like if you were like, let's go get juiced up. I'm like, are we going to the juice bar? Are we taking steroids?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Wow.
And it just sucked because it felt like I went on this trip with a group of friends, and by the end of it, you know, I didn't know who these people really were anymore
Oh.
because you're not supposed to share negativity with one another.
And they can stop you from doing that in your shared home, though. Like,
But that's the thing, they couldn't. So the glass was shattering, the
It got pretty
tapestry was
vibe.
unraveling, and
The vibe got pretty bad
yeah.
in the house.
Yeah.
like in house out.
It was just so stressful. I didn't want to talk to other people. I was around them all the time. I just became very grumpy.
What are they doing all day? Like, you guys wake up in the morning. What do you do? What does everybody do on a work day?
You get food. You go to the morning meeting. You get juiced up. You go to the field, which again is just Costco, Sam's Club. You're selling shit on your feet for like 8 hours.
Do you split up? Like, 2 people go here, 2 people go there?
Yeah, so it'd be like 1 to 2 people.
Okay.
So sometimes you're by yourself, all alone.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't ring the bell that day, you have the opportunity to stay for an extra hour.
At what point do you ring the bell? Is this a physical
make a
bell?
purchase?
No, there's no physical bell.
Okay.
So,
So-
what qualifies as a bell ring?
Yeah.
It would change depending on the day, like what the game was. Like, did we have to do 5 sale? Well, that's the thing. You never measured it on sales. So it was like, did you do 25 product in hands? Did you do like based on all the stages?
So, like, if I got you to hold this pen,
yeah,
that counts,
yeah.
maybe?
And then I would like mark it on my like sheet of paper, and we'd like be sending each other pictures of, Yeah, because you're like you're
Oh.
communicating. So it's
I was
like,
gonna say, how
hi, like real quick, check this out,
Oh,
and then I turn and burn you back to my booth.
yeah.
And then if we were doing turn and burns, it's like, did you get 50 turn and burns today?
50.
I don't know. Some
Yeah.
of these numbers were like wild.
And you said that you were marking them down, so you were keeping track if you had accomplished that particular goal.
Yeah, and you're like tallying it up, and then you do your check-ins over lunch, so they're having you call during lunch.
And
It's,
so,
it's embarrassing to say this on a podcast.
I'm
You were
glad
young.
you're saying it.
yeah, you're helping others. But when you I'm guessing you were like being honest because you were taking this seriously, and you had a peer with you. Is that
Yeah,
like when you were by yourself? Were you like boom, 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 done, done, done? I did it all in an hour.
I think towards the end, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the more I saw their dishonesty, the more I didn't
Yeah, that you were
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna.
give a hoot.
I can definitely
Um,
see that, like young people who are wanting to, like you were saying, like I want to start my own business, I want to do things, and feeling like you really have to be honest. Like
Because
that's really sad.
They sell it as this training program. They told me it was the equivalent of getting an MBA. They told me I was going to learn all these skills, and I learned sales skills. I think the consumer psychology point is really interesting, but
At what point do you crawl under the table? I'm really fixated on this table.
yeah, so coming off of college, just had some like pretty traumatic experiences, and the night terrors of the centipedes, the lack of sleep, all of the trauma I was dealing with from that, all of that stuff just starts to resurface when you're so sleep deprived.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, this ties into my childhood trauma. And you're just in this negative thought spiral and trying to figure out, like, how did I get here? How did I get here?
Yeah.
And all of that just like caved in. And I just crawled under the table and I cried because I was like, I cannot hand one more person a hair iron. I cannot ask one more person to like test this cream on their skin. I can't give another person a pierogi. Like, I'm just
And we've all had a job like that where we were like, I can't do this anymore. Or even a
Right.
relationship. I can't look at this person anymore,
Yeah.
right? But this is like beyond that. This is like they've tricked
drained you.
They've drained you. They've
Mhm.
tricked you. They've drained you. They've brought you in. They make you feel bad about questioning anything. So when you go to leave, how do you pull yourself away? Because I'm sure they weren't letting you go real easy.
it was a lot of guilt and
They're guilting you.
me guilting myself
Mm.
because they trained my brain
Mhm.
to believe all of this false rhetoric. And it was so hard to ask the owner to sit down and have this conversation. And I just start crying. And I think, if I remember correctly, she had to tell me what I was trying to do.
What do you mean? Like she's like, are you trying to quit right now?
Yeah.
You couldn't get it out.
I couldn't get it out. 'Cause I
Wow.
was so bought in to
Yeah.
this idea. And I wanted it to be true.
Yeah. Being like a grown up, I'm older than you too, but like just thinking back about being that age and just really not having the
Like-
way you can't hold up for yourself the same way.
No. Once you're in your 30s, your 40s, like you're so much more established as a person. You have that, hopefully, some of that confidence.
Seen so much bullshit.
You've seen so much bullshit that I mean, I think back to things. I was getting laid off from a car sales job that I had at 22, and they pushed papers across to me, and I was like, okay, I'll sign them. 36-year-old Rachel will be like, take your shit back. I'm not
Yeah.
signing shit.
I'm walking out of
I'm
here with a
walking out
car.
here. I'm taking a car. I'll drive it home, but I'm not gonna sign anything,
Yeah.
But at 22, I'm like, oh, you want me to sign paper? Okay,
Same.
I'll sign it. Your
And
brain's not fully formed.
Yeah.
Your
yeah.
brain literally is not fully formed until you're like in your mid 20s.
Yeah, I think it's 26 is
Yeah.
when your brain is fully formed.
Yeah.
And I'd been in some really shitty relationships with people who put me down.
Yeah.
People who were very abusive and would say things like, you shouldn't be speaking. Like, you make everyone uncomfortable when you talk. Just people who steal the soul right out of you. So when you go from something like that to a group of people who build you up and care about you, they take advantage of people who are at their most vulnerable point. Maybe if I hadn't come out of such a traumatic relationship, I would have had the mental fortitude and the confidence to say, this opportunity is not an opportunity that is for me. I'm going to look for something else.
Right. Wow.
But honestly, I'm happy that I went through what I did to get to where I am, because I have an amazing career in procurement. I have an amazing partner, a beautiful baby, a happy home, and I have my art still.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about that too. So you had mentioned like you were you were trying to pursue art. Can this be your career or whatever? At what point did you say, you know what, I can have a 9-to-5 and do my art? Like, what did that process look like?
Yeah, I have been at my company for 7 years now, and the first 5 were in more like visual merchandising side of the business, and now I'm in finance. And I think it was really 3 years ago that I realized I like doing the boring stuff.
You like the boring
It's
stuff.
valuable. So.
I like doing the negotiations on the business side of things. I enjoy performing, but I really like being backstage. So I produced more shows.
That's how I met you. You were teching.
Yeah.
You were working tech for when we had a secondhand sketch show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's like, that's the kind of job I do not want. Like,
Right.
we got an editor for this podcast. Hi, Tammy. Because I was like, I hate this. Like, it's not that I'm not good at it.
It doesn't bring you joy.
Oh,
so,
God.
Yeah.
So
No.
you had like joy from that and art, which is like a totally different headspace.
Totally different, which
Yeah.
is
You
great.
get to,
So
Yeah.
yeah, if anyone wants to sell the things I create, please do. But I don't want to do the sales. I did that journey. I did the sales.
But you're good at it.
I'm great at it. I'll tell you how to sell my shit. I just don't want to sell my shit.
Yeah.
I'll sell your shit.
You'll sell my shit?
I'll sell
I'll sell
your
your shit. All right, together.
Shit exchange.
Well-
shit sale exchange.
Selling shit by the seashore. Whatever. Did you have the mental space to like create anything while you were working at Devil Corp? I bet you did not.
No.
Yeah.
No, not until after did I get back into art. So I had done art shows before, and then I did art shows after, and that's what brought me into the space where I was like, okay, time to try a real job now. And I use that term like very broadly. Like a job is going to be specific to what people want and what they're looking for. But for me, I like that structure.
Yeah.
I like clocking in, clocking out. And there's nothing wrong with it. But again, there's this thread, especially for women, that like, oh, if you want to make it in life, you have to be an entrepreneur. You have to be that girl boss. But it's okay to say I do art and I am not going to make a business out of it. Not everything needs to be sold. Not everything needs to be commodified and turned into this capitalistic revenue stream. Like maybe one day I'll do something more with interior design. Maybe one day I'll sell some of my pottery or my paintings. But it's okay that it's not today.
Yeah.
It's okay that I just go in and I do business negotiations and contracts, and I get joy out of that. And then I do things for the theater that are, again, more on the strategic side of the space. And maybe one day I'll perform again, but I'm happy just singing songs with my kiddo. like we sing, we dance, we do our improv musicals in our our living room. They don't need to be on stage for anyone. Like, I find joy with the people that I'm with more so than the idea of making like $1 million.
Yeah. It's
I
balance. Sounds a lot like balance you have.
Yeah, and I think this maturity, this acceptance and happiness with where you are, you know, it would have maybe you came by it partially because of all this bullshit.
Yeah.
Both in relationships and then also the relationship with this business, you know, that you were pulled into and the way that they treated you inside of that.
That's
You were able to recognize it. You know, I wonder about the people who are at the top of this sort of, not really pyramid, but at the top of this corporation, who are in it forever, you know, who like get in, they stay in, they're like, this is cool. I'm cool with the way that I'm treating other people.
And do you keep in touch with anybody from there?
Not recently. I had gotten lunch, must have been 5 years ago at this point, with some of the women I worked with, and it's nice. Like one of them like is married, has a house, does real estate, and I forgot what the other woman does now, but
Yeah. So
it's just nice to see that people are doing all right.
Doing okay.
they moved on and they agree with everything that you feel about that company.
Yeah. Like, oh, we didn't realize it until we left that it was kind of a cult.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm hoping if there's anyone out there that hears this, you are in a cult, and listen to your family and your friends that are trying to warn you about this. Check-
Google
Devil Corp.
and it'll come up.
Well, that's a big thing about like Scientology. One of the people who was very, very big in Scientology got out and then was trying to help other people get out, Mike Rinder. Mike Rinder just passed away recently, which is really a shame because he was a huge voice for leaving Scientology. And he had always said, I read his book and listened to his podcast, one of his biggest regrets, or probably his biggest regrets, was introducing his children to Scientology.
Oh.
And I think he lost a relationship with at least one of them because of Scientology.
Wow.
He left and his children didn't leave, or one of them didn't leave. And, you know, it's easier to get people in than it is to get people out.
There's an executive at Devil Corp with the exact same story, I bet.
Oh, I'm sure.
Ooh, yeah.
Brought their kids in. They're like, I'm sorry.
But you know, you bring somebody in and then like getting somebody out of that thinking is impossible unless they want to come out of it.
Yeah.
Unless
you're
they want to.
brainwashed.
You're brainwashed. Unless you want to look at the situation you're in
Yeah.
and say, this isn't feeling right to me, you can't get through to somebody who's been, you know, brought into something and they don't want to look at it. You can't get them out.
Well, it's its own skill set to be able to admit that you're wrong. You know,
Yes.
we always talk about giving effective feedback, but where's the course on receiving effective feedback?
So true.
Like, how do you hear the things that other people tell you
Yes.
and commit to making small changes and adapting your habits?
If you decide to make it, tell me because I need it. You know?
If she makes that course.
Yeah. That could be your next hustle.
That's her next hustle.
I'll add that to the list.
Okay.
Many hustles. She can't hustle any harder than this. All right, I think that's our episode. I think. Thank you again for being here, Anna,
Yeah.
for the second time in a row. This is, I mean, we just learn something new every time
Yes.
about this wild company that I had no idea existed before we started talking about it.
Thank you for sharing your journey with
Yeah.
us, for sure.
Yeah, of course. Link it to like the Reddit and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
Let other people know that you can leave. It's okay.
that you can leave.
You can leave. Leave.
Leave.
Get out of there.